Hello, Otaku Fujoshi Anime Curious. My name is Ren, I'm Sama613, and welcome to Anime Opinions. This week I'm going to continue my series of final thoughts videos on the Winter 2014 anime season, and this week I'm going to cover 5 separate series. Now, I'm going to cover 5 series because next week I'm going to be covering Nagi Asu in its entirety, so I figured I'd give it its own review. Now, this week I'm going to cover everything I didn't cover last week, which was only Log Horizon. So these are the 5 shows that ended in the interim. So these 5 shows were Magical Warfare, Tunibio Season 2, Sakura Trick, Tonari no Seki-kun, and Nobunagan. Now, of course, I enjoy these to varying degrees, and I have said so on multiple occasions, so I will, of course, reiterate and give you my final thoughts on them. So starting off, I'll start with the first series I finished, and that was Magical Warfare. Magical Warfare was done by Madhouse, and Madhouse has definitely been on the decline, and this series was no different. I would class the series as mediocre overall. When it first started, I had great hope for it because the first episode was very good. The second episode wasn't half bad. And then it devolved into a high school love triangle that wasn't done very well and kind of detracted from the series, and it never really recovered. I'd say the animation quality never really got any better over the course of the series. It wasn't very good to begin with, and it didn't get much better. I'd say the plot was definitely not all that great. It wasn't the worst I've seen, of course, but it definitely wasn't very cohesive. I think it had a lot of holes. I think that it couldn't decide if it was going to be an action series or if it was going to be a drama series, and it failed pretty miserably at both, although I will say that the battle sequences looked very nice. As I said, it would be better without the love triangle that they're trying to foist on us, and I think that they did a bad job of the love triangle. So it definitely detracts from the series a lot. I'd say it's also very predictable. I was able to call a lot of the plot twists, including actually the ending, which is going to be the brunt of what I'm going to talk about here, is why in the hell is there going to be a second season? Sorry, there's going to be some slight spoilers, but they left it open for a second season because they resolved absolutely nothing by the end of the 12-episode run. They left it at a point where we need another season in order to know what the hell's going on, and in order to resolve anything, and I don't necessarily know that it was worthy of a second season. I think that if they closed-looped it, if they changed things a little bit and just left it, and decided, oh, I think we're just going to leave this because this was an awful idea and it wasn't executed very well, and here we are. Let's just go ahead and finish it and leave it and move on. And they're going to stick with it for another season that I'm going to have to watch because I'm a completionist. So I'd say that if you haven't already watched Magical Warfare, don't, because then you'll have to suffer through a second season, and I don't think anybody wanted that. Next up is a much better series, and that is Tunibio Ren, or the second season of Love, Tunibio, and Other Delusions. This is done by Kyoto Animation, and it looks really, really good. If you like the first season of Tunibio, you're going to like the second season of Tunibio. If you didn't like the first season, you're not going to like the second season. But beyond that, of course, it was still really good. It was still fantastic. It was still adorable when it needed to be, but it had a much more serious bent and introduced new characters to kind of challenge the original setups that were going on in Tunibio Season 1. And I think that they did a really great job with that. It was definitely a really fun series. I really enjoyed watching it. It didn't feel very heavy like some other series I've watched. And it was a lot of fun. It was really cute. And I wouldn't say it was, I'd say it's probably actually one of the better works that Kyoto Animation's done recently. The character growth was fantastic, actually. I think that Rika had a lot of character growth in this season. And I think that Yuta had some. And I'd say that the new character they introduced had some great character growth. And I found this season to be much more about Rika and some of her character growth rather than last season, which was more about Yuta and his character growth. And I found that it was a really great compliment to the first season. And having been said, the ending was the biggest cock tease I have ever been part of. I won't spoil exactly what it was, but they cock tease you so hard at the end. It made me so angry. And they, of course, set it up to have another season, which I'm not going to be adverse to. I think it would be pretty good to actually have another season, because this has been a really good franchise, and there's more source material. So by all means, I think that a third season would be good. If you haven't seen Season 1, don't watch Season 2 first. Watch Season 1, then Season 2. If you've seen Season 1 and haven't yet watched Season 2, I definitely recommend watching it. It's very, very good. Next up is a series that I have greatly enjoyed throughout the entire season, and anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I live tweeted every episode because you can't spoil it. And that's Sakura Trick, which was done by Studio Dean. Yes, Studio Dean did one of my favorite series this season. which definitely horrified me considering some of the botched things that they've done over the years. I'd say that Sakura Trick is very good at what it does. I wouldn't say that it breaks any special ground. I wouldn't say that it's any different from any other series I've watched. But at the same time, I'd say that it does it very, very well. And I think that's the important part, is that it does what it does very, very well. So it was enjoyable to watch. Like I said, nothing terribly groundbreaking. I think the biggest thing about the series is that the interactions between all the characters are what really drives the series and what makes it interesting to watch. I wouldn't say that the animation is fantastic, but it definitely draws some inspiration from Monogatari and from Shaft, just from some of the way that they do backgrounds. So they have a lot of head tilts, actually, in one particular episode I actually noticed. I think it's episode 11. It felt like Sakura Trick had gotten shafted. And that wasn't a bad thing. This was a very good thing. So I wouldn't say it was particularly groundbreaking on any front, but it definitely did what it did very, very well. And, you know, it was a fan service show, and I greatly enjoyed it for what it was, which was a fan service show. So if you like cute girls kissing, you'll like Sakura Trick. If you're not a fan of cute girls kissing, you probably won't like Sakura Trick. Next up is one of the surprises of the season, actually, is one that I picked up after it had started because I dropped a different series, and that was Nobunagan, done by Studio Bridge, who still haven't done anything besides really this and a couple other, like, they did some in-betweens for some stuff and a few other things. I would say that the best way to describe Nobunagan is that it had a parabola of quality, and that has to do with the fact that the first couple episodes were really, really solid and lots of fun and really good, and then it steadily went downhill and hit a trough about middle, and then at the end it went back up. So it was definitely exactly like a parabola. I'd say the last few episodes and the first few episodes are the good part, and the middle's kind of a lull. But it was still at least entertaining to watch on the bad episodes for the most part. The OP is probably the best OP of the season that I watched, hands down. Like I said, it's fun to watch, and the entire OST, actually, not just the OP, is really, really good. And it ended perfectly. It's a closed-loop ending. They resolved everything for the most part. I wouldn't say they tied up every plot point, but whatever. I'm not too worried about it. And it's a fun watch if you like action anime. If you don't like action anime, you're not going to like it. I'd say that the animation quality is kind of mediocre. They do some interesting things, like the way that they do, there's some shadowing that they do that's really good. And I think that the EG designs are very interesting, but beyond that, I'd say that it's not terribly groundbreaking. And I'd also actually say that the animation isn't very good, but it's still fun to watch if nothing else, and that definitely counts in its corner. And then the last series I'm going to talk about from the winter anime season is another series that I picked up late, and that is Tonari no Seki-kun, done by Shin-ei Animation. And I really, really enjoyed this series, and I didn't think I was going to, because personally I really hate like those 5-10 minute anime episodes. I really hate them. I don't like them at all, and I have to say that this was done right. It was basically a sight gag every single week between Yokoi and Seki, and it was always fun to watch. I always laughed at least a little bit. I thought that the interaction between Yokoi and Sekikun was fantastic. They had a really great chemistry. I found Yokoi's character to be really, really interesting, even though they didn't develop a ton. But it was just fun to watch, and that really counts for a lot. Yeah, it was just a super fun and light-hearted series, and if you just want something fun to watch real quick, like, you're not going to have to sink more than maybe an hour and a half to watch the entire series. And it's definitely worth your time. It's a lot of fun. I haven't seen the OVA yet. I need to get around to doing that. But just based upon the series, it's fun to watch. And if you only have, 8 or 10 minutes, just watch an episode. And it's greatly enjoyable, and I just had a lot of fun with it. But what did you guys think about these 5 anime that I mentioned? Go ahead and leave your comments down below. If you agree with me, of course, go ahead and leave a like on the video. If you didn't like what I had to say, go ahead and dislike it. What other series do you think were good this season? I only watched, I think it was 7 or 8 series. I didn't keep up on a ton of them. And I know that there are a few that I missed that were really good, such as Noragami, such as Kill la Kill. I just didn't have time to watch them. I might get to them in the future at some point, but I haven't had a chance to watch those 2 specifically. But go ahead and leave your suggestions down below on other series that were really good from this season that you like. As always, like or dislike if you can. There's going to, by all means, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I do release a video every single week. Like I said, next week is going to be my final thoughts on Nagi no Asukara, which has been probably one of my favorite series to watch for these past couple seasons. After that, I'm going to start doing my first impressions from the spring anime season, and then I'll probably have somewhere in there, I'll probably throw in my Monogatari second season review. I still haven't finished the series. I just haven't had time. But I will try and get it finished before Sakura-con and get some film out for that. I will also attempt to get out some real quick vlog-like things from Sakura-con, telling you whatever the big announcements from the industry panels are. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to be, but I will attempt to get them out, and I will attempt to let you guys know. But until next time, I've been Random Sama 613. This has been Anime Opinions, and until then, watch more anime.